Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells it all regarding family court, other court issues, as well as CPS. I am your host, Marianne Petrie. You can find me on dismantlingfamilycourtcorruption.com. You can also find my books published by Triumph Press, Dismantling Family Court Corruption, Why Taking the Kids Were Not Enough, and Cry Out for Justice, Poems of Truth, as well as Raised by These Wolves, How Family and Federal Courts Are Failing Our Children. And feel free to buy me a coffee to help keep this podcast going. I'm very happy to have on Jennifer Hankins Lundy. She was last on my podcast July 25th, 2023, season 4, episode 131, where she spoke out on what it takes for judicial accountability to happen now. And I know that you just came out of the Republican convention this past week or so. And so what's been going on with everything?
Oh my gosh, it has been a whirlwind since we started this. I think we
Mhm.
actually got officially started in February of last year, and I started speaking in April, and then I spoke with you. And since then, we've been to at least 20 different counties talking about what we're trying to do. I've been to Steve Ministeri's office. He works for the governor. They are 100% in support. The governor actually put a bill out last session on the SCJC that didn't make it through. So I have gotten in contact with David Spiller, who is the state rep over the SCJC,
Mm.
and also with Senator Huffman's office. And Senator Huffman's office has let me know that they'll be starting on this bill this summer. So I took with her all of the things that we are asking for, which I think may have changed a little bit since I first talked with you, but not a great deal yet.
Mm.
Um, but I'll let them know we've got some major changes. They had some minor changes in there that they were wanting, and they're very happy that they have the support of Texas,
Mhm.
and not only Texas. I think all the United States is probably going to be behind us. We picked up 2 more states this last weekend.
Oh,
Um,
good.
but what we have done is incredible, in my opinion. Not what I have done, but what the movement has done.
Mhm.
We have got several of our justices are behind us. We had an election this, in March, and we got 3 new justices. I guess they're called judges in our criminal court of appeals,
Mhm.
and all 3 of them are behind what we are doing. But Justice Shank has he contacted me last December about what we're doing, and he is completely on board with us. He served over the SCJC for a year and has helped me every step of the way. It has just been incredible. So are you ready to hear about our
Oh,
convention?
oh, sure. Let it rip.
So I spent a solid week down there. I had about 4 hours of sleep a night, so I'm a little bit out of it still. I
Um,
did sleep for 2 days when I got back. But we got Texas. We have Rule 44, and that is where you can censure officials. It had excluded judges. We got that changed to where it includes judges now. That is a huge
wow.
step because I'm sure in our last one, I'll let you know what had started me in this. And the gentleman who was over that case, he was wanting to have his judge censured and couldn't.
Mhm.
We had gone through, we went to 3 different publications to see if any of them would report on it, and they wouldn't. I don't even know if you know that his case was overturned. I mean, I think it's been that long. Okay, so he had a case with this judge for nearly 6 years, and he took it to the appeals court, and that case was overturned. And so we went to the newspapers. They would not report on it. We went to the Republican Party
Mhm.
and tried to get a censure, and it was not possible because the way Rule 44 was. And so we asked them if they would censure through the SCJC, and they wouldn't because this judge has got control over that county.
Oh,
So we got that rule overturned. So now he can the gentleman can at least ask to have him censured. That's a
Mhm.
big deal. Then we got all of our things that we were trying to put out in the planks.
Mhm.
That was awesome as well. And believe me, there was testimony on it against all of it, and it was overwhelmingly in support of what we're trying to do. The best thing is we have a priorities committee. The priorities will put out the top 8 priorities that went through, and this is every county puts out their resolutions, and then many of the larger counties have a priorities committee within that, and they will take what they think could be a priority. In
Mhm.
our county where I live, they had the eight priorities. 7 of them were the same as ones we had last session,
Mhm.
and plus ours. So ours made it to priorities. We spent 3 days there from 8 in the morning until 11:30 at night
Wow.
working on these priorities. They got it the first time they put it through for a vote. We were tied with Secure Texas Elections. Um, everyone had 3 options that they could choose out of I think they had 40 in there at the time.
Mhm.
Um, then they put it through again, and we were at number 9. I didn't like that because I didn't know how the vote was going to go. You know, there are a lot of people who just check the first 8.
Right.
So I wasn't comfortable with that, but that was okay. We had Justice Shank came in and testified for us. We had a district judge come and testify for us. And when the district judge came and testified, it was a big deal. And not that, I mean, Justice Shank was absolutely a big deal. But having a judge come in also, I think it impressed them. So we got moved up to number 7.
Mhm.
We do not have the results of that, and probably won't until at least tomorrow. I've heard 2 weeks. I've heard Wednesday. I have no idea when they're going to come out. I don't know where we stand at that point, but I know we were number 7 out of 15. They had narrowed it down to 15 whenever we went into that. So I'm absolutely thrilled,
Oh,
thrilled,
yeah.
thrilled, because if Texas can get this going, then the other states that are watching us, I think we have 8 in total right now watching us. New York is one, and
Mhm.
Oklahoma, we just picked up some of their senators who are watching what we're doing. If we can get this going, I think it's going to help the entire United States.
Mhm.
I just can't imagine it not helping us all. It's outrageous what is happening.
Most definitely, especially in the state of New York.
Yes.
You know, I'm hearing it from everywhere, but it seems like there's a hub in New York and in North Carolina.
Yes, North Carolina is one as well. I don't remember off the top of my head all the states that are on the list who are watching, but I know that those 2 are.
Mhm.
And like I said, Oklahoma, we just picked them up this weekend. They're watching as well. So I think that I think we're doing great with what we've got going on. I think it's going to make a big deal to everyone. So if you want to know what was the resolutions that were put out, I'll have to look at my phone
Uh-huh.
because I thought it was on this piece of paper I put out, but it's not. So you can talk to me while I look that up, so it's not
Oh,
silent.
yeah. So, like, I don't know, was Pennsylvania on that list, do you recall? I don't
I'm
know.
I'm not sure if they were. They could be.
Uh,
I'm not sure.
okay.
Okay, so this is what is going out as the priority.
Okay.
The State Commission on Judicial Conduct must be transparent. They shall publish online public access for all complaints. So whether, I don't know if you're aware or not, but we've had 27,000 complaints in the last 20 years, and they've only published about 415 of those. That's less than 1%.
Uh,
So this justice who was over them said he knows at least 25% should have been published.
mm,
So we want them all published. So um, findings and conclusions and rationale of the commission. Um, Video and audio recordings of all proceedings shall be created, kept accessible, and preserved for all interested parties in all courts of record
Mhm.
for at least 36 months. Audio and video in all courts, that's a huge thing for us.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm sure that everyone knows, at least anyone who's been in court, what the judge says off the record and what the judge says on the record are very different things. And I'm putting this out there. This is to protect both the judge and the plaintiff or defendant.
Mhm.
Because there are a lot of people who come out and say, well, the judge did this, did that, did that. And it, and I know that that's the way they took it,
Mhm.
but it may not be exactly that way if you look at the whole case. So this will give the judge protection if they are acting the way that we would like them to act,
Mhm.
and everything was okay. But it also gives the plaintiff and the defendant or the defendant um, protection as well,
Mhm.
because if the judge like the case that got overturned, if they're acting in that manner and they're ramrodding their opinion through and not allowing
Mhm.
actual court to take place, then they have protection. So we are working very heavily on that as well. And then the last thing that was put in was civil asset forfeiture shall be abolished. Now that was not one of mine, and I have not taken the time yet to really look that up. I was okay with it going in, though. It was one of the state representatives, chief of staff, who put that in, and I spoke with him and said, if this thing passes, you definitely better be supporting us. And he said, "No, you have no worries here. We are supporting you." So
Mhm.
I'm very happy about that as well.
No, that's excellent with the transparency. And, I hear parents complain that, trying to get video from the court or a transcript, sometimes these transcripts are costing the parent like $1,000. Uh,
Oh, more than that in some
yeah,
of them.
yeah.
I've got a person, he's
Depending how
asking for
thick.
just one page and he's being charged $450 for that. That's outrageous.
No, yeah.
And I was a court reporter.
Mhm.
I was a
Yeah.
freelance court reporter, and we didn't charge for us just being there as a freelance court reporter. We charge by the page only.
Mhm.
They are charging the state clearly a salary, plus they're charging for transcripts. And I don't think that that's right. I think it should be either or. Either you're freelance and you charge by the page, or you are employed by the state and you get a salary. I don't think it should be both if you're employed by the state.
Right, right. That's ridiculous for that transcript, a page of that to cost that much.
It is.
That's extortion.
Yes. And I'll have a few court reporters mad at me for agreeing, but yes, I, they get paid a good salary. That should be enough.
Right. And they
I
they
mean, it's their duty. It's their duty to produce the transcripts, not just to sit there and take it down.
right.
And that should be within the cost.
And they don't care how this case is gonna go either. They are just,
No.
you know
Yeah, no, and why would they? I mean, they've got
yeah,
hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cases. They don't care about the particular case. I mean, I'm not gonna say they don't have any feelings toward it at all, but that's not why they're there.
right. Yeah. Because I remember one of my transcripts was, it was a thick one, but, it wasn't a family court one. It was where it was a CPS hearing, and it was like $675,
Mm-hmm.
and you've gotta get these things.
Oh, you have to have them.
Yeah. I It's just such a shame. And is there any way that they can, just charge reasonably somehow? You know?
Well, like I said, I think if it's freelance, you the attorneys normally are the ones who pay it, but obviously it's the client who's paying it. Freelance, freelance by the page in
Mhm.
court. They're already paid by the state. I don't think that transcript costs should be in addition to that. And that's what we're trying to get it out there so that people can get the video of their proceeding. Now, if they need the transcript for any future things, then clearly at this point they'll be paying for it. But they can watch that video and see if there's anything that will allow them to go forward
Mhm.
if they need that.
Yeah, very important. It's very important to have these cameras and, you know, even tamper-proof mics would be helpful because through this court watching, I have seen judges just, mute the pro se litigant and just continue on.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one of the things that Justice Shank has let us know about is the corruption. It's awful. These judges are being not these judges. We have a lot of very good judges.
Mhm,
So let me state that. We uh we have a lot of support from the judges. But the ones that are crooked, they
mhm,
are taking payments the night before a case, and it flips their verdict.
mhm,
And they don't have to show that they accepted payment from one of the litigants. The other litigant has to look it up to find out, and that they are definitely swaying their decision. It's just not okay. I mean, we're going to be approaching that as well. There are a lot of things we've got to approach here, but my intention with our Republican Party was to get it out so that the state knows that the Republican Party is behind them.
mhm.
Um, we are all behind getting this repaired.
Yeah, it has got to be repaired, move forward so, families, people going through the court system are not suffering under collusion, conflict of interest, and payoffs.
Mm-hmm. Because they sure are right now.
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
I don't trust it at all.
right. Well,
Even if I went one of my friends right now, I don't know that I would trust it. So,
yeah, exactly, because even your own attorney could be torpedoing your case, and you don't know it.
well, and that was another thing that really bothered me. One of the judges who's very much on our side, I went and talked with them, and I may have talked about this with you last time. I don't remember at what point I spoke with him, but I went into his courtroom, and um, he he had two hearings going on, and he had me. I sat through the first one, and then I spoke with him in between. He let me know the next person's going down too. I
Mhm.
was like, "How would you even know this?" And he let me know that he doesn't really talk with the plaintiff and defendant. He talks with the attorneys, and
Oh,
that's not okay
no.
because I have now what I'm telling people at this point is if you have a case coming up, you need to go down to the elections office. You need to find out who has contributed to that judge.
Mhm,
And that's how you need to pick your attorney. And I'm not saying this for attorneys to start giving to judges to make sure they're on that list,
mhm,
but you don't know if that judge is angry with that attorney that
mhm.
you picked. You have no idea what his reputation is. When we're thrown up with something where we have to get an attorney, it's like, oh my gosh, we I know we don't have yellow pages anymore, but
Right, right.
you find an attorney. You don't know the relationship of that attorney and that judge, and that can ruin it just like that.
Well,
Just
yeah,
have They have the wrong relationship.
right,
Has
and
nothing to do with your case.
yeah, right, and I know of a website, that you could, look up the donations the attorneys have given the judges.
Well, you may there in Texas, it's county by county because they have to
Okay.
report it to their county, but judges don't have to report it bigger than that.
Mhm,
So I'm glad there is a place, but there's not here.
mhm. Yeah, this is very shady what
Mhm.
they're doing and putting parents and other people through who are supposed to be innocent until proven guilty.
Yes. I, we have got so many people working with us now who have just been run through the ringer.
Oh,
I have one gentleman, and you may have spoken with him, I'm not sure, but Robert Garza, he has spent $700,000 on his case. He finally, I think, is going to have her declared a vexatious litigant um, because she spent over $1 million, and it's all over. She wants to take the kids whenever she wants to. He has joint custody with her, And so she'll just take him back to court, take him back to court, take him back to court.
Oh,
It's ridiculous. It's over and over and over. And that's not okay.
oh,
She has the money.
yeah, and he's had also, was it 43 accusations he had to get through as
Yes.
well? I mean, that in
Not every one
itself.
of them overturned,
Yeah,
but it's outrageous.
right,
It's
right.
outrageous.
I remember telling my lawyer, "I hate going in here," as we were going up the courthouse steps, and she looked at me and said, "Really? Because some people enjoy it." I'm like, "Who would
Who would
enjoy this?"
enjoy that?
You know,
Other than maybe the attorneys.
right, yeah, because they get paid whether they win or lose, so they're still getting paid,
Absolutely.
and the kids are not considered. I don't know what all transpired in this convention, but did they bring up foster care at all? And
Yeah, so we had obviously we had the parents testify a lot. We probably had 12 people testify on that portion, but I was really happy because we had 3 people there who have been through the ringer in the probate court, and
Mm,
they were in session last session, um, pleading about changing that.
mhm,
And so they grabbed a hold of us. They spent the entire week there with us and helped us with our booth. And they have got ream after ream after ream. Uh, I mean, box after box
mm,
of all the issues with the probate courts. We've got tons of CPS cases. We have land cases. I mean, it's just everywhere. It
mm,
is everywhere. But these people with the probate, I mean, he could spend an hour here talking with you.
mhm.
It's unbelievable what's happening. I mean, and it's clear to me there's no one over the judges. Yeah,
Oh,
they have a state commission on judicial conduct. We know that, but they are not allowed to be effective. If you have a judge judging a judge that could have been out playing golf with them the day before, they're not going to do anything about it. We know that.
right.
We know. So we are trying to get that opened up. Uh, I made sure that I'm not sure exactly how it's going to happen. There are all kinds of things being thrown out about how it's going to happen because there are attorneys who will complain about a judge, but they don't want it to be open because they don't want the judge to rule against everything they do from then on.
Yeah.
So we're trying to figure out all the details, but it's got to stop. It's got to stop.
Mhm, mhm,
I think the things that we have going on with that will make a difference. We're wanting the judge to have to state the reason for his ruling on the record uh,
mhm.
in every case. I'm sure that they do that in the criminal courts, but we know in family law, they're not doing that
Right, right.
at all. And civil, the civil portion of it,
Mhm.
not doing that. So we want that to be required as well. We've got a long list of things we want.
Do you see the abolishment of family court in the future? Anything like that?
I don't see the abolishment of it. I think that this will help. The 50-50 parents have that is also one of the priorities. That's number 14, equal parenting.
Mhm,
I think that will make a little bit of a difference. Um, they they want it to be the number one thing that's the go-to. Right now, it's extended possession.
mhm,
They want that to be the first thing that's looked at. And they're not saying that that is the answer for everyone,
mhm,
but the courts can't even look at it first. The first thing they have to look at is extended.
mhm,
Um, so we want that to be the first thing that's looked at. And then clearly, if the parents live too far apart or if there's any kind of abuse or any of that stuff, then that'll be skipped over and go to the next thing. But they want it to be the first, and it should be. I don't think that the fact that you get a divorce that should mean that suddenly your life is taken over.
mhm.
You should, especially when you have two loving parents of children. Um, we know what's happening. It's very clear what is happening. Our kids are not being looked at all. All they are looking at are the dollar signs are getting out of our kids. I didn't have that particular issue. My son is, I have a son and a daughter. They're both my son is in college right now. My daughter's out of school. I didn't have that particular issue. But I can see that particular issue. You can see what is happening. You can see it with CPS. You can see it with the family courts. And we have got to let people know what is happening. I think they're getting 60 cents per dollar from the Title 4D, I believe it is.
Yep. Yep.
There are some other people who have a lot more experience with that part than I am, because that's not really what I'm focused on. But they're getting like 60 cents per dollar. So clearly they're going to have the parent who makes the money be the one who's having to pay in, because they're making money off that. That's not what it should be about. It should be about whether your children
Right.
have a relationship with both of their parents, not how much money the state's making off of them.
Oh, that too. And I know of judges that have just inflated arrearages for no
Oh,
good
yeah.
reason. Eh,
Absolutely. And we talk about the last thing they tried to put through was child support to conception. Well, that starts them out in the hole.
Oh.
Now we've talked about child support to conception, obviously, are whenever it is not a married couple.
Mhm.
So you have to, if the father knows he's the father, okay, we've talked about this with them. One of the guys is saying, you know what? I'm for that as long as they put it as 50-50 parental rights from the beginning as well. If
Mhm.
they do that, that's okay. But the way they have it going at the moment
Mm.
is the father will have to pay the mother back, and I'm not sure what they're supposed to pay her back on. I mean, when you're pregnant, you do have some extra expenses, yes, but they're not astronomical by any means.
No.
But and unless she doesn't have insurance or something, I
Mm.
don't know. I don't know what they're trying to do. They're trying to get her on his insurance, but you have to prove that they're the father. So
Mhm.
then you're about a year from the date of pregnancy to the date all these testings can occur, and the father starts out behind. And that's just too much. I don't think that's okay. And unless, like I said, the father knows he's a father, the mother knows he's a father, and they started out 50-50 from the very beginning.
Mhm. Mhm. Wow, that's scary, especially if the guy is not the father.
I know.
Yeah.
Absolutely it is. And I mean, you don't know if you're not living with the person. You don't we think we know people, but we don't always know them.
No. No. I think, I don't know, that whole thing, that whole Title 4D, I really wish that would go away, because then these kids wouldn't be used as pawns in these courtrooms and have these parents fighting. And it's really all about money, especially in New York State. It's a money court.
Sure.
And uh, it just, they don't care about these kids. These judges are not looking at evidence of abuse on these kids.
Mm-hmm.
And, I
They don't even see the kids.
right, right, right. And, there was Morgan versus Morgan that came out February of 2023 in the beginning. And the gentleman she was just denying him his right to see his kids. So they got the child support suspended. I thought that was gold. It's like, great. If they're not going to let you see the kids, you shouldn't have to pay child support.
That is great. I know that I think Robert had a law passed last year about if they if they keep you from seeing the child
Mhm.
for whatever reason, that it's time taking time back. You get
Mhm.
that time back, so you'll get every weekend, and that seems to be helping.
Mhm.
It's keeping people from filing it so quickly, because they know that if their accusations are false, that they're going to lose that time in the future with their child, as they should.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because whenever they take that time away, then they want to put it where it's supervised visitation to
Oh,
get you to get to know the child again. That's ridiculous.
right.
That's ridiculous.
Right, and it also confuses the kids even more, and it scares them
Absolutely.
to go to some supervising. Then they're
Yeah.
charging the parent, like, like
$800 an hour.
yes,
It's
yes.
ridiculous. You know, my son, I'm divorced. My son sees my ex-husband about once a year.
Mhm.
Well, was I supposed to have made it be supervised because it was once a year? No. He wasn't a bad father as far as me worrying about something was going to happen. He just
Mhm.
didn't see his children, which is awful. He talked with them on the phone. You know,
Mhm.
they knew who he was. They didn't have a problem going to see him. I think it's ridiculous that they're putting that on. Why? We know why though. It's financial.
Right. Right. And I just thought, man, if we could just get rid of the Title IV B, D, and E, I think
Mhm.
this world would be a better place.
I agree. I agree. 100%.
Yeah. But these states are making billions of dollars off of this. So why would they stop or even try to repeal it to fix it and make the world a better place? It's just too much.
Uh, they're only going to stop if we yell loud enough. We have to yell loud enough. So it's what we're trying to do here.
Right.
I know y'all are trying to do it there as well. I pray that we make a difference.
Hmm.
I think whenever the courts start, when we can see what's happening in the courts, I think it will help.
Did they bring up custodial interference at all during this convention?
No,
Not at all.
no.
Yeah, because that's also another factor that's playing into the personality disorders.
Sure. Well, you know, I didn't get to listen to all of the testimony for the father's rights,
Mm,
and it wasn't really father's rights. It is, but it isn't. It's a lot of fathers who are yelling about it. There are
mhm,
some mothers yelling about it too, though.
mhm,
Uh, but I didn't get to listen to all of their testimony because I had to testify in our rules committee and in our platform committee. So, you know, I was running back and forth. But there, you know, there was some good testimony out there and it is online and we're trying to capture it. We may create something where people can see just our testimony for what our causes.
mhm,
It's going to take a little time because there were just hours and hours and hours and they didn't stop it. You know, it just went on. So you got to find it and pull it out. And
mhm,
we are going to try to create something with that so everyone can see what people are talking about. And we'll probably create a video that includes both because
mhm,
even though the equal parenting is a part of what I'm doing, it's not all of what I'm doing by any means, but it is a part.
mhm,
And I don't mind it combining. I mean, I want the testimony from the people who are there for probate.
mhm,
I'm not sure if I had anyone there from CPS, but I had some written testimony and I think some of them may have read it. We had a lot of testimony that was just read. We had some from uh, a reporter wrote some. We had several, I think it was a JP who wrote some testimony also that
mhm,
we got read. You know, it's a big deal and it's got to stop.
mhm, mhm. It really does. You know, going back to this child support, these judges that don't look at the full case as to why someone somehow lost their job, and then they're raising the arrears just at a whim.
Yeah, and then they put them in jail, and then you know even if they have a job, they put them in jail, and then they lose their job, and then they're behind forever. Then it's
Right. I mean, this is why it's like we've got to stop these judges from illegally inflating these arrears.
yes,
And because I was in Superior Court and I was listening to this father argue because he was a car salesman. So you know how you have a few good months and this is great. Well, then you have, 4 crappy months of not
hmm
okay. So, but the judge is looking at what you're going to make and what your potential is to make. And even in my case, where I completely lost my career as a nurse of 23 years, the judge didn't even care. She had it in her brain that I was going to make uh 30 to 40,000 a year off of how, because she didn't look, or she knew how I lost my job, but just didn't address it.
hmm there are judges here. They think, not all of them, but some of them just think they're God. They
Right.
just
Oh,
do.
yes. Yes.
We've got a judge. We had a complaint from a lady come in just on jury duty. That you bring everyone in and you figure out who you want on the jury. She was a truck driver. She drove in the all night to get there to do her duty.
Mm.
She was not dressed appropriately. He threw her in jail.
Oh,
She
no.
lost, she lost her job because she couldn't go to work because she was in jail because the judge was being that way, and he was offended at how she walked into the courtroom.
Uh,
Eh, that I don't think they should have the power to do that.
right. And she was only doing jury duty.
Just yeah, that was
Oh,
it.
my God.
Yeah. And he was offended. It's like that's not okay.
No.
Um, and then I had a judge ask me to come and watch his courtroom because of what I'm doing. And he didn't want me to watch his courtroom. He wanted to talk with me. So he had me come to his courtroom. Well, whenever I went in, I got there and he's texting me saying, "Well, I have a case that's going over. So maybe we can do this another day." I'm like, well, I'll just come sit in the case. Well, he had put both the mother and the father in jail at one time over their divorce case. They had all these stipulations about their children, and it was very tense. And I'm like, why should you have to face going to jail because you've upset the judge in a case? Everyone is tense. Everyone, you're not the same person when you're going through all of that.
No.
And it is so offensive to me that they would even think that it was okay to put someone in jail going through a divorce case. I was just floored. He knew it too because I was sitting back there with my mouth open, and he didn't
Yeah.
call me to come back and talk to him again.
Well, and these judges forget this is also at taxpayer expense.
Oh yes,
Uh, you know,
yes,
go after the real criminals, not these people that can't afford to pay child support. That's not
yeah,
helping because
at all.
it's actually hurting families because of the ACEs scores that they ask, on in the test, has one parent ever been incarcerated? That, you know, it's the adverse childhood experience test, and this is not helping. And these judges think it's a great idea to put a parent in prison, debtor's prison, which was abolished in 1833.
Yes.
That has to stop. I know there's a big prison industry, but come on.
I know they make money off of it. That's all they care about.
Right.
Not all of them. I have to keep saying that.
Right. Yeah. Not all of them. Not all of them. But you've got
Yeah.
some ones that are, just out of control. And I
And
think,
that's what we're trying to do. We want to open it up so we can see the ones that are like that, and we can get them elected elected out, unelected. We want someone to be able to run against them
Mhm.
um, because they're not able to because it's not showing what they're doing. We want to be able to show what they're doing. So if you've got an attorney who wants to run for judge, they can because they can show what they are doing.
Mhm.
Uh, it's just outrageous.
Mhm.
We
It,
had that judge that I probably talked with you about. I may have talked with you about who shocked the defendant in the hearings 3 times. I'm assuming I talked with you about that last time. He was finally he lost his election in March. So we got rid of him. And I hope I had a little bit to do with that because I have him up on the screen whenever I go and talk with people about what it is we're doing.
Mhm.
And I hope that made a difference. I don't know if it did or not, but he was certainly lost his election, and I'm yay.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Well, I always tell people, please complain about your judge. You've
Yeah.
got to complain about their mannerisms and how they treated you. And you can't complain about the ruling because there's nothing you can do about that. But if they're treating you so badly, and
Mhm.
I just did a big write-up on one of them, and you know, early retirement, that's what they do.
Yes, that's what they do, but they're still out, and that
Yes.
makes us very happy. And you need to talk good about the ones who are doing the right thing.
Mhm.
They're the ones who are doing the wrong thing are overshadowing the ones who are doing the right thing. And we've got a lot of judges who are doing the right thing, a lot of them, and no one hears about them.
Uh-huh.
You're not going to go out and say, "Hey, this judge was amazing and awesome." You're just
Right.
going to complain about the ones who are doing the bad thing. We need to let people know there are really good judges. I know there
Right.
are here in Texas. I'm sure there are in other states as well.
Yeah,
So we need to
definitely.
be talking good about the good ones,
Mhm.
and make sure you bash the bad ones as well.
Right. I mean, I had a really good judge, very even good looking Jennifer. I'm telling you, I could look at him. I mean, I just looked down while my lawyer did all the talking because it's like he was really hot. But anyway, he actually, because my ex was withholding the kids. So he was yelling throughout this whole thing that I was actually getting more time. I was getting them on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It was like, oh my God, this is a miracle. But,
Yes.
when we walked out of there, it's like I was all happy, and my attorney just was like, like flat affect. And I'm like, "What is wrong?" And it turned out that the ex still continued to withhold, but you don't get that same judge back. I mean,
Uh,
we didn't get to go before that same judge because that was an emergency petition. But
uh.
then you go back to the family court judge who goes, "Oh, just slap on the wrist."
Let's see, with the law that was passed here, which he's trying to get in all the states, that time that he's withholding them, when you have a right to have them, you will get that time back.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
I'm praying that that goes to all the states.
Oh, yes.
He's certainly pushing that there.
Yeah, that has to be done. Uh,
Has to.
it if people would just behave and put their kids first, we wouldn't have
Yes.
these problems.
Yes, it's outrageous. It's ridiculous. Like I said, I'm divorced. I didn't care what the courts said as far as time. The every other weekend, every Wednesday. If my husband wanted to see the children, he could see the children. I never ever stopped and said no. If you have to be here at 6 and you have them until 6, Sunday, Friday to Sunday, or I never did that. If you want to come on Saturday and take them to lunch, if you want to come on Tuesday, take them to lunch, Wednesday, take them to dinner, I didn't care. I
Mhm.
wanted that relationship to be there. It's
Right.
his choice if he didn't abide by any of it. If he chose not to, that's his thing. But I didn't. He
Mhm.
and that's the way it should be, I think, because they're your children and his children, and you can hate on someone all you want. You chose to be in that relationship. You
Mhm.
chose to make children with them. So you, at some point, you thought they were good enough for that.
Mhm.
So you don't let your children know that you now can't stand them. You
Mhm.
just smile and say, absolutely, you need to have a part of their lives as well. I'm
Mhm.
not sitting here trying to say you can't. And I
Mhm.
think it's outrageous that people do that. Uh, I,
Right.
it, Anytime he wanted to see his children, they were there.
Well, I remember telling my ex that I wanted a divorce, and he got very upset. He said, "You're gonna take these kids away from me." I said, "Buddy, you're not going anywhere. You're gonna help me raise these kids."
Yes.
And
Yes.
and we worked out a schedule between ourselves. We didn't run into a courtroom at that time.
Hmm.
You
Absolutely.
you can co-parent, it just you just co-parent. It can be done if you're not working with a personality disorder. This is where all that plays in.
It does. Yes. And I say this to your ex, that's why however mad he is at you, that should not affect the children. He can
Mhm.
hold that in. However mad you are at him, it should not affect the children. They shouldn't even know. So
Right. The thing also that plays into a lot of people's cases is this collusion. Like, the ex may know someone who works in the courthouse.
mm-hmm.
Or they're married to someone who works in the courthouse. And you may want to move that venue, but your attorney's torpedoing your case saying, Oh, no, that's not a conflict of interest. It sure is.
Yes.
And I don't know what people do with that because it's a hopeless situation because the case is already set up. You're going to lose.
Yes, you are. 100%.
Hmm.
I've got people calling me all the time about just that, because they don't like people from outside the county coming in, but in the county, everyone knows each other, and depends on how tight you are with them.
Hmm.
We have a case where the gentleman, I think it's on Father's Day, he's supposed to be able to have his children. She had filed the report that a lot of women do, that keeps the man from coming to the home.
Hmm.
She would not bring the children to where they're supposed to meet. So he went ahead and went to the home. It's Father's Day, he's supposed to have them. She called the police on him.
Hmm.
And then she called the judge.
Oh, no.
Personal phone number, called the judge.
Oh.
Yeah. He got him excused, but it doesn't matter because they all know each other. So
Mhm.
whoever came in after him, he had told them. And the man is they put him in jail too, for going to the house.
Mhm.
And he's not a threat to the woman. He's certainly not a threat to his children. He just wants to see his kids.
Mhm.
I mean, that the people who act as though a man coming to your house that you had a relationship with, that you made children with, they're now out to get you. It's like, that is ridiculous. They're angry, sure,
Mhm.
but that doesn't mean they want to hurt you. They want to see their children, not you.
Right. Right. I mean, I even let my ex take my kids overseas. I was there, I signed over the passport because I thought this will be a learning experience for them.
Yeah.
Um, they were tweens, and they were there like 2 weeks, and I just trusted he would bring them back. And,
Did?
yeah, they
Okay.
brought him back, yeah. So there was no Hague issues or anything, but, yeah, I that's when we were co-parenting very well. I mean, at least pretty decently,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just there's so many twists and turns that can happen in a divorce or custody case that these judges have to be more aware of. And I know they say they want education for judges. I know they have to go for CEUs, but they have to know what a personality disorder is, and they have to pick up when someone is lying,
Yes.
and they also have to be forced to look at evidence.
Yeah, that's the big thing right there. They don't look at what comes in, and that's a problem. Whenever I got divorced, I sent my attorney everything, and I didn't know didn't know I had an awful attorney. He came
Mm,
in that morning and he hadn't looked at any of it. And I believe me, I immediately fired him and hired someone who would look at it because I
mhm,
needed to show. Um, but yeah, it's just so hard. It's so hard to know,
mm,
and it's not fair to
mm-mm.
us.
No, not at all. And I heard on one of my other podcasts that sometimes these clerks or pit boys will look at the evidence and decide if the judge is going to look at it or not.
Yeah.
The judge may not even know there is evidence.
Sure. Well, that's awful. It's
Right.
awful.
Right. I mean, this
Well,
all has to be. I'm so glad you're here and we're talking about this because this will enlighten a lot of people. And, thank God for people like you.
well, thank you. It has it has been it's been quite a ride. I'm not going to say it's been good. You know, being exposed to all of the corruption, it's
Mhm.
pretty awful.
Mhm.
With my history, in case anyone didn't look, I was a court reporter and I worked for two of our senators. So I know a little bit about both areas. And it has been uh, a tremendous job to
Mhm.
get this done. Like I said, I've spoken in at least 20 counties in the past year, and and in some counties, I say a county, I may have spoken at 4 or 5 different places in that county. It's been a job, but I'm determined, and we're going to get some things changed, because it's not right what is happening to people in all over, not just in family court, like I said, but in the probate and
Right.
in CPS but we can change it all in one place. And I think that JC, since they are in all 50 states, our state has 13 staff members, and the other states that are comparable to our size have as many as 52. I mean, it's outrageous. We've got to get that up. I think they are allotted like 1.5 million, and I'm just estimating it could be 1.7 or 1.4, but somewhere around there. And the other states our size have as much as 10 million. That's a big thing on the audio and video that we're trying to get, because SCJC, whenever they want to, or whenever they need to investigate a judge, they have to pay for these transcripts too. Well, they'll have that much money, and they've got to pay their staff. These staff members are putting in 14, 16-hour days. I mean, the whole thing has got to be boosted. We need to be able to count on them when we have complaints. We're also trying to get this probably ain't going to happen this time, but it may happen next time or the time after. But the commission is 6 judges, 5 appointed by the governor who are public citizens, and 2 by the state bar. So we want to get it switched first time, at least, to where it's primarily the public citizens appointed by the governor, not just 5. They need to have more numbers than the judges and attorneys. Now, we would like for it to be at some point all public citizens, and we'd like at some point even possibly having that to be an elected position. That's a long way down the line, but the first thing we're trying for is to have it primarily public citizens, because I just don't believe a judge can judge a judge. They definitely know the law, so they have to be there, but they don't need to overpower the citizens in that case.
Yeah, I agree with you. Very fascinating. Now, I'll ask you one last question before I don't want to suck up your whole day. But does this also include federal court judges that are being looked at?
It does not at this point. I'm not saying we're not going to include them. My goal was just to get Texas changed. And then whenever we can get Texas changed, I'm learning every single day. I'm not an attorney. Like I said, I was a court reporter and I work for the Senate. But I'm learning new things every day. We've got tremendous support from our justices. We have support from the Supreme Court as well. So I will include it whenever we get Texas taken care of. I want to be accessible to the other states who are going through this, and let them know how we've done, what we've done, and federal as well. I know quite a few congressmen, and they are watching us as well. So we're just going to see where this goes. Tomorrow should be a huge indicator of whether or not it's going to be a little easier if we have the support of the Republican Party and also the Democrat Party. This is a nonpartisan issue, and I've had a lot of Democrats calling me from Houston, especially because that is primarily Democratic judges there. And I've had a lot of people calling me. There was one who called who was a delegate, or is a delegate. I don't even know when their convention is, but it's coming up quickly. She's the delegate there. So I sent her everything that we're doing. I'm like, get this going through that party as well. I've spoken with 2 Democratic senators. They're very interested. One of them wanted to take it over, and I said, no, we're a Republican state, and we're going to do this our way. But I'd love for you to sign on whenever it happens. It's nonpartisan, yes, but being a Republican state, we have to make sure our Republicans are in control of it. And they should be. because it's just astronomical and totally outrageous what has happened. We
Exactly.
gotta the judges are supposed to be the third in the rung of the three, and in my viewpoint, they're number one. One thing I was trying to push in our Republican convention, we had 8 priorities last session. There's only one that did not go in front of a judge. 7 of them did, and I've said very clearly, you have no idea what judge that's going to go in front of. You don't know if it's a corrupt judge or if it's an honest judge, and we have to make sure that people know what is happening. So, I mean, in my opinion, it needs to be number one priority. I know it won't be, but just, if it's in the top 8, I'll be very happy. It's going to make a difference.
Definitely. Definitely. Well, if people want to reach you, I have the information in the podcast notes, info at texasforjudicialaccountability.org, and Facebook, Jennifer Hankins Lundy, and Texans for Judicial Accountability. And the phone number, do you still want me to read off the phone number?
Oh, I don't care. My phone number is pretty public.
Okay. It's
But,
8.
but I do ask if anyone wants to talk with me to text first, so I know what you want to talk about, because I've got cases from all different areas, and I need to get my mind on what you're wanting to talk about. And if I can help, I will. I'm not focused on the particular case, even though I do need the cases for whenever we go to session. I would like to have them in front of me so I can tell our legislators, we have this case, we have this case. I mean, I would love to have your information, but it doesn't mean I can help you with your particular case, because we're trying to help everyone at once. And so if I focus my time on your case, that's going to take away from everyone else. But I still want your information, because I will take it there and they will hear your case. They will hear what's happening.
Definitely. And I'll put that in the podcast notes, but don't jump off. Okay. Slam the Gavel is a podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these family courtrooms. I'm your host, Marianne Petrie. You can find me on Spotify, YouTube, Apple iTunes, anywhere. I'm on platforms I don't know about, and feel free to buy me a coffee to keep this podcast going. And thank you, Jennifer Hankins Lundy. I'd like to have you back on again.
Absolutely. I'm happy to come on anytime you want me to.
Oh, thank you so very much. You are making a difference.
I hope so. I'm
Oh, yeah.
trying.
Oh, yes, you are. You are.
Thank you.